I'll be speaking to Wafiq Faour. He's active in Vermonters for Justice in Palestine. We'll be talking about an announcement from the ice cream company Ben & Jerry's and the harsh, rather incredible response from the Israeli government. Wafiq lives in Vermont, where the Ben & Jerry's company got its start. Good afternoon, Wafiq.
Good afternoon.
So what was the announcement that Ben & Jerry's made that got the president and prime minister of Israel to make angry statements?
The statement came out from Ben & Jerry after over 10 years of a campaign of Vermont for Justice in Palestine, saying that Ben & Jerry's company in Israel will stop selling its product on illegally built settlements in West Bank and East Jerusalem. The statement continued as after the contract between Ben & Jerry and Avi Zinger, the lessee in Israel, at the end of next year. No longer Ben & Jerry going to renew that lease and that contract, but at the same time, they're going to continue selling Ben & Jerry products in different form or shape in Israel, 1948 land.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah, so majority of people are reacting definitely. Us for Vermont for Justice in Palestine, VTJP, we reacted. It is a good step, first step, and we ask for more. Majority of the people reacting to the reaction of the Israeli officials, from the sitting prime minister to the foreign minister Bennett, or to ex-prime minister Benjamin Netanyahu calling for boycott to Ben & Jerry. But actually, we wish they read the statement itself and the confusion it's happening within the public and within the activist community. Why I say that? Because Ben & Jerry's executive sent that message. At the same time, we have the board of directors of Ben & Jerry saying this is not the message we're trying to send to the public. Their message is stronger, it's more straightforward, and the chairwoman of Ben & Jerry, Chairwoman Mattel, was very strongly saying we don't need an interference like that of the work of the board of directors. Why? Because Ben & Jerry has social mission statement, and all our campaign is based on that social mission statement. We can come later talk about it, why the campaign started, what's in the social mission. But to finish the first subject, the board of directors usually are the one who are active on the social mission, and they answer to the public when there is something has to do where Ben & Jerry, the conscientious company, the do good company, stand on issues. Again, the social mission, as everybody knows, Ben & Jerry is a good company. They give back to good causes. They made a very strong and courageous announcement when it comes to racial justice, equality, human rights, when they talked about the indigenous people, when they talked about environmental subject, LGBTQA, when they talk about income disparity and the police brutality. They never left any social, racial issue, but they put their finger on it. And usually they have a courageous board that they deal with these issues and they deliver on it, not only on statements, but in a good deed. Vermont for Justice in Palestine, over 10 years ago, we contacted Ben & Jerry to say, well, like you are having many flavors of your ice cream, and you have so many flavors of your racial, your social missions, talking about all these subjects. We are part of all these subjects. We as Palestinians racially discriminated against. We are living under apartheid occupation regime. Our environment have been diluted by attacks, uprooting our trees, stealing our water, diluting our seaport, sea lines, and our rivers. And when we, if you care too, which is they do, about the question of refugees, we care about refugees because a big part of the Palestinian people became refugees after the Nakba of 1948 and 1967 Nakba, and they're still living on the refugee camps in Lebanon, in Syria, in Jordan, and all over the world.
So if I could summarize, so you've been campaigning for a decade to try to get Ben & Jerry's to live up to their social mission when it comes to Palestinians, and they've taken a step. They said, we will not sell our product in the land that Israel took us in 1967. Mm-hmm. But they still want to sell within Israel. And then the response of the Israeli government was, to me, hysterical, with the prime minister saying that Ben & Jerry's is anti-Semitic ice cream. And then the president of Israel, you hadn't seen it, as we talked about before.
No, I did.
He said that that this was a part of a new form of terrorism. It was BDS, it was a new form of terrorism. And then the old prime minister, Netanyahu, what he wanted a boycott of Ben & Jerry's. So this incredible reaction, as if this was Ben & Jerry's was the only supplier of Israel of steel or computer chips and not ice cream. Well, where does Ben & Jerry's make its ice cream for sale in Israel and the territories?
The factory built on a Palestinian town called Constantinople, which it's in southern Naqab desert, almost 27 to 30 kilometers from the Gaza border. And they transfer, and this is how our campaign started, they take their product when they take it to East Jerusalem and to Jewish-only settlements. They use Jewish-only roads to deliver that, including their catering wagon. What I mean by catering wagon, they advertise over there, if you have a party, wedding, bar mitzvah, you can order a Ben & Jerry 8 flavors. And we tried it with our Israeli supporters, and they ordered 8 flavors cards. And they will send it to you on the settlements, any settlements over there. And to make it clear, when we say Jewish-only settlements, it's settlements that have been built for settlers coming from overseas, settling on Israel on a newly built cheap lawns houses, and where the Palestinians cannot live and they are not allowed to be part of that community. And now the number of the settlements almost reach 700,000 settlers, which is over 10% of the total Israeli population.
Mm-hmm. Now, you say this is a step, you're pleased with a first step, but what are the other things that you're asking Ben & Jerry's to do?
Well, I mean, definitely we're asking Ben & Jerry to, as they said, they're not going to renew the contract, and we want them to stop completely selling their product on Israel until Israel observe and follow up with the international human rights and equal rights and the question of justice. Why? Because within Israel, it is an apartheid state. The Palestinians, who Israeli call them Israeli Arabs, which is they are 20% of the population of Israel now. They face hardship according to International Human Rights Organization and Israeli Human Rights Organization, B'Tselem. They just documented it 3 months ago. B'Tselem came out and said the apartheid laws, it is not only the people under occupation, but every inch of the land from River Jordan to the Mediterranean Sea. So as long as the apartheid laws existed, which is existing in policing, existed in healthcare, existed in housing, existed on education. In all these areas, you will see the treatment of the Palestinian Arab, indigenous people over there, is a completely different than the citizen of Israel from a Jewish background. You have to understand, Stanley, the whole campaign here in Vermont and all over the world is to bring attention to the Israeli occupation and the treatment of the Palestinian, and to end occupation and the apartheid laws in Israel. This is the whole idea. As a matter of fact, we succeeded for the last 10 years in many ways. A lot of people, they didn't see it, but this is the whole goal. We succeeded by using Ben & Jerry and its social mission to educate the public about what's going on over there. Because if you come to the American and you say, hey, do you know what's happening on Israel, Palestine? They would say it's far away. We have nothing to do with it. You know, it's not part of our daily life. But when we brought Ben & Jerry, which is Vermont finest, from here, from Vermont, to the conversation, it became different. When we said, you have an American companies over here are benefiting and profiting from the occupation, the conversation became different. And we start talking to people, they know something, they know product, and this is how the campaign succeeded. And we were using it as a tool to educate the public. For the earlier question about how the Israeli leadership are reacting to this, it is only one sign for that, which is Stanley, that boycott, divestment, and sanction is working.
Mm-hmm. Well, it looks like they're going to make a major test out of this, because Bennett, Prime Minister, I believe, said that they're going to tell the US government, you have 30 laws in 30 states against BDS. We want to see that enforced. And, you know, make Ben & Jerry's a test case. You know, the settlements, 48 Israel, it's all the same. It's all Israel. It's all ours. And, you know, you better not allow this to happen. I mean, it's extraordinary that Americans who think they have freedom of speech and choice are being told by this country what to do. But those laws do exist. And so there may be a big battle, wouldn't you think?
It is, you just said it. Number one, freedom of speech and freedom of boycott, it's enshrined on the American Constitution. It's true that the Israeli lobby, Apex and others, they succeeded to make state laws making BDS, boycott, divest, sanctions illegal, but it has been tested in the court of Georgia just last month, and BDS became unconstitutional. Bennett, the foreign minister, he's welcome to that. We want this kind of conversation. It's true, it's very bad that a foreign country enforcing a law they have on us here in America, but at the same time, America has to face to something like that. And for us as activists, Vermont for Justice in Palestine, we're having a big conversation about this, how to bring this kind of connection to our activism for the next step for us. We have to bring organization here locally to a meeting, including ACLU, Human Rights Commissions, and others, and to tell them here, just because we are calling for BDS, and there is a company local called Ben & Jerry, who likes to observe that because the international law tells everybody you cannot benefit or profit from occupation. There is this foreign minister from foreign country telling us, you know, threatening us that he will activate BDS here in our country. And this is where the battle going to be. And we'll see who will win. I know for sure, my organization knows, we're going to win at the end. Mm-hmm. South Africa taught us a lesson. We are under a test here in America. Either you are with the human rights, equal rights, and justice, or you are with tyranny, occupation, and apartheid. Now, you have to choose.
If groups, people who support Palestinian human rights around the country want to help out, what can they do with Ben & Jerry's? Should they write to them and say certain things to them, or do
absolutely, absolutely. I wish everybody can write to Ben & Jerry board of directors, Chairwoman Mattel, and to the executive of Ben & Jerry, to Mr. McCarthy, and tell them thank you for this positive step, what you are showing us, that it is, because they say on their statement, it's against our values to continue business on illegally built settlements. It's very positive step, and we encourage you to stay firm under all these threats coming from Israeli politicians and the American State Department. But at the same time, you have to look at your social mission and think about the Palestinian getting hurt if you continue business with Israel. Take a courage. Take a real stand, you know?
Yeah. So last question, if people want more information, what is the website of VJP?
No, vtjp.org.
One more time?
vtjp.org.
All right. Thank you very much.
Stanley, thank you. Always a pleasure. Take care. Thank you.